Testament Greek introduction, we want to take a look at the adjective. We've already examined briefly the rima, the Greek verb, the ουσιαστικό, the Greek noun, and now a third and very important part of grammar is the Greek adjective. And it's very interesting because it acts very much like the Greek noun, which we have already examined. And in the last segment of our New Testament study, or introduction, we're going to look at some word studies, a little etymology. We're going to also do some Greek reading, and you might be able to hear these things. But let's begin now with the adjective. In the Greek, the adjective is called the epitheto. Epitheto. Put this in English. The Greek adjective acts very much like the Greek noun in that it must have the following things. It must have a gender, it must have a number, and it also must have a case. It must agree with the noun. This is what is going to modify the noun in which you'll be using. Let me give you an illustration of this, or an example. Let's take the adjective agathos. Agathos. Agathos means good. It's a description, let's say, the agathos anthropos, the good man. Agathos is good. Now, you're going to notice something with a Greek adjective. Just like with the noun, there are masculine, feminine, and also the neuter. Now, this is a masculine agathos. The feminine agathos looks like this, agathi. And the neuter agathos, or the neuter good, looks like this, agathon. Now, the difference you see in each one is what distinguishes it from, or one from the other. If you'll notice here with the masculine agathos, the ending is what distinguishes it from the feminine. The feminine is ita. The neuter is on. So in the masculine article or the masculine adjective, we have an os ending, at least in this category or declension. And here in the feminine, we have the ita, and the neuter is the on. Now also, there are articles that go with or accompany the adjective, which is also going to serve as the article of the noun, if you will. The article is the same as we learned with the nouns. O agathos. I agathi. And to agathon. Now we're going to run through this whole thing as we did with the noun and show you how it works together. We go from the o, which is the nominative case, o agathos, and now we're going to come to the genitive. It's going to be agathu. And again, we want to put the article. It will be tu. Now remember, this represents two cases, but we have a single form. Here, with the feminine, we're going to go from I to agathis. The article looks like this, tis, as it did with the Greek noun. Here we go to the neuter, and we have agathu. The article goes like this, tu, agathu. And it continues on down just as we learned with the Greek noun. Let's look at the next one. Now we come to the instrumentive, we come to the locative and the dative case, and it looks like this in the masculine. Agatho. We'll put the articles with these in just a moment. Now we come also to the same case, but with the feminine, and it goes agathi. Okay? And then with the neuter, it's agatho. The article looks like this, you remember. And I believe the article is the same. No, I'm sorry. It is this. And here we have this. And we move on now to our next one, which is going to be the accusative, agathon. And this is the tous, or ton. Ton, agathon. We come to the accusative in the feminine, and this is in, agathine. The article is going to look like this, tin, agathine. Here, we have agath, that should be tho. Agathon, the article again duplicates itself from the nominative or with the nominative. So these are all the singular forms of the adjective agathos, agathi, agathon. As I said, now this means good. Now let's take a look at it using it with a noun. We see it will modify the noun. Let's take o, agathos, anthropos. Okay? O agathos anthropos. Now here is what is unique about Greek, in that it all works very well together. We see that we begin with a masculine singular article. In this case, it is nominative. We notice here that this agathos, this epitheto, the adjective, must also agree with the article, which the two of them then will agree with the subject. All I need to do is write it correctly, I guess. Okay? Here, as we've said before, in this declension of adjectives and nouns, which is the second declension, we see how it matches up. O, os, o. O, agathos, anthropos. Now, as we progress through the declension of this thing, we see that it will become, in the genitive case, tu, agathou, anthropou. And again we see the article, the end of the adjective, as well as the end of the subject or noun here take agreement. So we can see the euphemism, if you will, tu agathou anthropou. It begins to flow very nicely. Let's take a look very briefly at the plural number. We're going to simply erase the end of the words, and we're going to make a plural out of them. The plural is this. It goes from o in the singular of the masculine now to e. The end is agathi. Agathi. Now we're going to come here to the plural. It is no longer tu, but now it is ton. Ton agathon. And here we come also, again, we're in the plural, don't forget. It is tis agathis. Okay? And now we come to the tous agathous. This is the plural number, remember. Now in the feminine, everything changes also. The article changes, as well as the end of the subject. It also changes. So let's go through these very quickly if we can. Now in the plural, in the feminine, it looks like this. E, agathe. And we come to the dative and to the genitive case, and it looks like this. As a matter of fact, it takes on the same form as the masculine, and so will the neuter in this genitive plural case. Now we come to the next one, and it is tes, agathes. And then it comes to the tas, agathas. The neuter, like the others, also change. It goes from to, agatho. It becomes ta, agatha. In the next one, it goes from to ton. It matches up here with these two to agathon. And next it is tis, agathis. And then ta, agatha, or agathan. Let's go agatha. So we can see, though it may seem complicated, but again, let me remind you, after you have learned this part here, you get the base of the word, agath, agath. Now all you do is simply memorize the various cases and their forms, and the very endings and their forms, and you take the word agathos, o agathos. Well, you have it in your mind now. O is the nominative article, os is the nominative ending, and you put it, the article with the ending, and you come up amazingly with agathos. We do it in the plural, e agathi. Now sometimes for my mind it's a little bit difficult because some of these endings have changed in modern Greek. For instance, we don't use this any longer, tis, agathis, unless we happen to be reading from our official translation of the Bible, which still uses many of these endings. So sometimes even for me it's confusing as I look at these things and try to remember what they are. One of the best ways to understand a language is do not make it a drudging thing to do. I mean, don't try to fill your mind with so many facts and figures and things because it all gets jumbled. The best way to learn a language is to use what you know and know what you use. Because the more you use it, well, it's going to open up other doors. And as other doors begin to open, you begin to add things to it. And in our next session, we're going to see how this can, well, work very easily for you as a new student. We're going to give you a text, and we're going to take the text apart, and you're going to learn what is in the text, how it is put together. And then suddenly you're going to find yourself learning grammar as well as word study. And you're going to learn how all this is coming together, and you're going to find out that now you know what e agathi means. And we're going to see that tu agathu anthropu is a genitive or a dative case in the singular. So there's a lot that can be learned if we simply do it in a systematic way. But if you want to fill your head with all these facts and figures the first month, you're going to be very confused and you're going to be discouraged. Now let's look at another adjective. We have looked at agathos, which means good. Let's look at another one, mikros. Mikros. Let's say o mikros. Mikros means small. Small. Let's put o mikros anthropos again, since we are now familiar with this word. O mikros anthropos. Now, as you're looking at this phrase, tell me what you know about these three words. What is this? We know that this is an article. What case is the article? What gender is the article? And what number is the article? These things you can already answer. We know that the article is nominative. We know that the article is masculine and it is singular. All of that we understand by simply the omega or the omicron. We come next to our adjective. What do we understand about this adjective? In English, small is small, whether it is connected with a small man, a small woman, or a small tree. It's still small. But in Greek, it isn't that way. What do we understand about this word mikros? Mikros is what? Is it masculine, feminine, or neuter? In this case, there is no misunderstanding of what this mikros, or small, is pertaining to. It is pertaining to something or someone masculine. Is it, we can say, the small birds or the small men in English? And small is small, whether it is plural or singular, but not so in Greek. We know here with this word, this adjective, it is now a masculine, it is in a nominative case, and it is singular in its number. And now we come to the subject which we've already looked at in prior lessons. We understand the same thing about the anthropos, or the man, or the people, or the person. We have here the small person, the small man. Now, this can be done throughout the entire declination of this epitheto, or the adjective. We would come next, let's say, to tu, mikro, anthropo. Tu, mikro, anthropo. Now what do we understand about this? We begin here with the article. We know that the article is a genitive or a dative case article. We know that it is also singular in its number, and we know that it is masculine. We see here the epitheto, or the adjective, agrees with the article. It is also singular, it is masculine, and it is in the genitive case. And it matches up with our subject. So you see how Greek is like a box of tools. You begin to put these things together, these pieces all come together, and then they form what is needed in order to express and communicate thought with a very acute exactness, if you will. Greek is unlike other languages in that when you are expressing something in Greek, you can express it with minute and interesting detail and color. Okay, let's move on to something else pertaining to the adjective. Something else is interesting here, I think, with the adjective, in that it has, or it can be used in three ways. It can be used, first of all, attributively, second, as a predicate, and third, as a substantive. Now, if you're having trouble with your grammar terminology, go back, find you a grammar book, bone up on your grammar your grammar terminology. Learn what these things are, because you're going to constantly see it as you study Greek. First of all, the epitheto is used attributively. It is used attributively, and this simply means it gives a quality to the noun. Let me give you two examples of this. We're going to use agathos again. We're going to say o agathos logos. Now you probably already know what this is. Everyone knows what the logos means. That's the word. You now know what o means and agathos. We see here o agathos logos. It has two positions, the epitheto or the adjective here. The adjective here comes between the article and the subject. Our second rendering or writing of this in this attributive form, we can say, o agathos, o logos. What we have done is said the same thing, except we have added again the article, o agathos, the good, the word. One thing that was always stressed in language study is that every word or every subject must have an article which defines it. Let's move to the second form, if you will. We have the attributive form. We have that which is predicate. What this does is this adjective makes an assertion about the noun. It asserts something. Okay? I think I have this spelt right. It asserts something pertaining to or toward the noun. Let me give you two illustrations. First, we can say, o logos agathos. O logos agathos. It says, the word is good. Now, although we don't have a verb in this thing, the verb is understood. O logos agathos. We know that we have been speaking about the word, and simply we make a statement now that is predicated, and o logos agathos. The second illustration is this. We can say agathos, o logos. Good, the word, literally. Or, again, it means, if we translate it literally, it means the word is good. As with the first one that we used up here, it says the good word. O, or the good word. The good word. Now, our third one, if we can get it on the board here, is the substantive case. Is the substantive use, and this is the adjective. This means the adjective is used as a noun. It's used as a noun. Let me give you a couple of illustrations of this. First, are we still getting this on the board? Okay. First, we can say o agathos. O agathos. That's all we say. O agathos. I'm speaking to someone. We know what we're talking about, our subject matter, and I will address it instead of saying the good man. I will simply say o agathos. O agathos, he says this. O agathos, he does that. So we know that the adjective now is taking the place of that subject. In English, it would be difficult for me to say and really understand if in the conversation I would say, the good said this. The good did that. It's just not proper. But in Greek, this can be used. Let's use another illustration. B. We can say, E nekri. Let me make this a little clearer for you. Sometimes my E nekri. The dead. The dead. If we're talking about the dead, we don't have to name them. We don't have to put them in some kind of order. We just simply say, E nekri. E nekri to necrotapio, the dead of the graveyard. So we see that the adjective is a very, very useful and important part of our Greek grammar, helping us to understand better what we're involved in. Now, understanding this about the verb, about the adjective, and about the nouns, let's take just a moment and put up a few examples or short sentences and give you the opportunity to look through them and see what you can pick out or understand using the information that we've already given you in this introductory video. Our first sentence will look like this. We're going to say, O agapitos mathitis akui tous agathous logos. You say, that doesn't mean a thing to me, it's all Greek to me. I understand it's all Greek to you. But let me put it on the board, and then let's go through it. O, and we're going to say, O agapitos, this is the beloved. The agapitos mathitis, O agapitos mathitis akui tous logos. Now, a lot of words, a lot of sound, not much meaning so far. Let's take just a moment now and go through it and see what we can pick out, what we understand, what we recognize. What is this? This is that one letter. This is the article. This is the article. We know that it's nominative, it's singular, and it's masculine. This here means the beloved, agapitos. And you might pick out the word agape from this because it comes from love. This is the masculine. Again, it is singular. Mathitis is the student or the disciple, if you will. Mathitis, the learner, if you will. And this is the verb akui. Akui is in the singular, third person. This and this and this all go together. This is not plural, it's singular. Therefore, it matches with the number of the verb and the person of the verb, I should say. And then what do they hear? What do they follow or hear? They then hear the logos. We have tous. Now, this is in the plural. It is in the accusative case plural. It is tous logos. O agapitos mathitis akui tous logos. So we have just a brief illustration here of how all of this is put together and how you can use it profitably in your studies. Very quickly, let me give you one other sentence, if I may. Agathi I Ecclesia ke I Vasilia. Vasilia kaki. Agathi I Ecclesia ke I Vasilia kaki. Now we have a comparison. We are saying good the church, or the church is good, and ke, the kingdom is bad or evil. Notice there is no verb here. In Greek, we can often speak not using a verb, but understanding the action already in progress. So with these few things, maybe it will whet your appetite enough to continue your studies and to make it a project in your coming days to learn what you can. But remember, do not become discouraged because you do not understand everything the first month or yet even the first year. It takes a lifetime of devoted study if we're going to learn and understand something about the Greek language.